Friends, it's your girl Lauren Gardner, and welcome to this edition of Off Base. Joined by Xavier Scruggs, not in studio today because he's doing a little bit of homework on his extra credit subject, Byron Buckton. How's Minnesota treating you?
It's been good. The weather is beautiful out here. The good thing is, I love getting out to the field, right? Studio is amazing, but when I can get out to the field, talk to players, learn a little bit more about their routines and figure out their adjustments, because we're always talking adjustments, but if I don't know what they are specifically from the player themselves, it's hard for me to really detail it. So this is special for me to be out here doing some homework on Byron Buxton and many others.
And I feel like you're kind of selling yourself short. I've been out there with you at BP, various ballparks, and guys are swarming to you. You're like a celebrity to some of these players. It's not easy for you to get the insight. It's a lot of fun to watch. Speaking of the AL Central, you want to talk about the Royals for a second? Kind of surprising people, X, after a little bit of a slow start this season. Here they go, a busy week as we begin to move the needle here, and the Royals have been. You see Pasquatch, home run barrage against the O's. We even had a Pasquatch sighting, and we're not talking about Vinny. We're talking about, and you've probably seen this, X, the mythical figure. It's real. I didn't know that. I had no idea, but it got us to thinking because Royals off to the solid start. They surprised so many people last season. We had 3 AL Central teams in the postseason. Bobby Witt Jr. was MVP runner-up. In your mind, what is the ceiling for this Kansas City Royals team in 2025?
Man, I think the American League is up for grabs for me. So I feel like they could come in a pennant if they take care of business consistently. The pitching is what they have. And I think I'm looking at more so at the offense, right? Like, are we able to give Batman and Bobby Witt Jr., can we give him a Robin? Like, who's going to be that guy? Salvi was great last year, right? And Vinny, we've seen him in certain spurts, but we need someone consistently doing it with him. Michael Garcia, give him, he's been great so far this year, but it's only really been those two. And Bobby is outstanding, one of the best players we have on the planet. But if I can maybe pair him with the Jack Caglione, who I see has been working a little bit in the outfield down there in AAA, big time power coming from University of Florida, he needs to be in this lineup about ASAP, because those two together can do some serious damage, and they need the offenses right now, LG.
Yeah, Caglione, the 6th overall pick in last year's draft, is looking like he's ready. Mark Sales, our researcher, has a guy in the trenches in his minor league team and says that this guy is raking. So I think we're all kind of chomping at the bit to see him get promoted. For me, I think it's also the pitching. I mean, you have Seth Lugo, Cole Reagans, in addition to Chris Bubich, who's been kind of surprising. You and I were working on Apple Friday last week, and there was a spot start made by Noah Cameron. Took a no-no into the 7th in his MLB debut. So impressive. So to your point about Caglione adding some power at the plate in the pipe, they also have some more arms that will be coming up that can continue to help them. I think their biggest obstacle, X, is going to be competition in their own division, because if you look at the standings in the AL Central, they're all kind of dominating the AL right now, and the AL is wide open. So if they can kind of just move Detroit and, some of the other competition, including the Twins here in Minnesota, out of the way, maybe it can work itself out. But they also have the White Sox.
I like how you mentioned Chris Bubich, because look, this is a guy who has come into the fold back again this year and into the starting rotation and has been nothing short of great. I thought about Brady Singer, who, obviously got traded over to the Reds, and okay, do they lose a little bit of that strong staff, right? No, they've just gotten better from an ERA standpoint, from being able to go deep into into games and covering a lot of innings. Not to mention, they don't need to cover that many innings because they have a great bullpen too. It's just going to be whether or not this offense shows up consistently. And I look at what you mentioned about the starting pitching. If they're able to continue that, they'll compete with Cleveland. They'll compete with the Tigers as well. All those teams right there in the AL Central, we don't talk enough about them because, smaller markets and whatnot, but they are all doing a great job of playing consistent baseball.
Yeah, I can't believe I left Cleveland out of the mix. I was there covering them in the ALCS last season, and they had a really fun and competitive series against those Yankees, and Cleveland's not slowing down anytime soon. Neither are you, X. You are the busiest man, not just in baseball, but in all of sports. I don't think you unpack your suitcase because you, my friend, are heading to Rickwood Field this summer for a second consecutive season. We saw the big game there last year, but this year we're going to have the East-West game returning. So the game itself is a tribute to the Negro League's All-Star game that was East-West. That will be played on June 19th. That announcement was on Willie Mays, what would have been his 94th birthday. So special. But you have a very personal tie to this because you, my friend, are competing in this East-West game. How are you feeling about this? Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much. I don't know how I got tied up with some amazing names that have played this game for a long period of time, but I'm glad to be a part of it. Amazing rosters on both sides, the East and the West. And I was at Rickwood last year. This was one of the few events I wasn't with you doing some type of work out there on the field, but it was amazing to be there.
I was happy you were there, though. And obviously you had some heavy news to cover, too, with the passing of Willie Mays.
Yeah, no. Definitely. And I think that's what made it that much more special. And I think people appreciated it that much more. And there was just an aura around the field, right? Just that old school vibe, but also knowing that baseball is going the right direction when it comes to diversity, their initiatives, what we're looking at, players coming from all different types of markets and countries. It's really special to see. And I'm excited to be a part of this one. The last game was in Cooperstown and guys were having an amazing time and really competitive. So I'm warming up the hamstrings as we go right now. Like I know I got some time, but I'm warming up the hamstrings and getting them ready.
Okay, so you're ready. You have to train for this. You can't just go out there and pretend like you're in the height of your career. You're retired. I know you work out though. You hit the gym. I feel like you're going to be ready to roll. And yeah, I'm looking at this roster. So you're playing. CY is going to be your captain. CC Sabathia is the captain for the opposing team. I mean, has the trash talk already begun?
I mean, it's already started. Look, I mean, the funny thing is, CY and CC, they already trash talk enough. So
right, they're
for
boys.
us,
They hang out all
for
the
me,
time.
it's CY. So many guys, we got to back up what CY is saying now. And he's just, putting more stuff out there. So we're the ones that all got to back it up. I might need you to throw me some batting practice because I need a little left-handed BP every now and then to make me get ready.
I got you. Let's bring the lefty out of the bullpen, at least for some BP. I'll go warm it up. But, former all-star softball player, just throwing that out there. This is going to be something so cool, though. I'm really looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to seeing you out there on the field. This is, once again, will be on June 19th at historic Rickwood Field in Birmingham, Alabama. This is a second annual tribute to the Negro League's All-Star Games held from 1933 to 62. We talked about the team captains. They have quite the resumes under their belts, and tickets will be available now. Visit MLB.com/Rickwood. Still to come here on Off Base, there he is, the man, the myth, the legend, Byron Buckton. A little extra credit on the other side. X is going to tell us why he might be one of the best hitters in the game.
2 on, nobody out. Buxton's the batter.
High and deep to left field. Back it goes towards the second deck and gone. He's homered now in 3 straight games, and there's that buck truck sighting early again tonight. And with one swing of the bat, the Twins take a 3-1 lead.
Well, great to see how healthy he's been to start the year, how well he's been swinging the bat, how well he's been running around the bases, just doing everything this team has needed after a slow start.
A healthy Byron Buxton means good things for the Twins and for their fans. You can see this over a 10-year span. Look at their win percentage as opposed to when he's not healthy, which brings us to one of my favorite segments of the show, a little bit of extra credit. X, you're going to break down what Byron Buxton is doing at the plate that some hitters take for granted.
Yes, LG. I think a lot of times we get so bogged down on trying to hit the pitcher's pitch and what's the pitcher's advantage and what they do well. Well, what about just hitting the mistakes in the middle? Like, that's the important thing to me. And it's easier said than done. And that's supposed to be your job. But this is what Byron Buxton does so well. What he's leading in Major League Baseball, not missing in the middle, but also hitting home runs. Like, when you get a pitch in the middle, it's about driving that baseball. And I think what we've seen early on with the health is he feels good at the plate, but he feels comfortable. He feels like he can get to pitches that are mistakes early in the count. and even late in the count. What you're seeing right now is every single one of those pitches is in the heart and in the middle. And he's not no double to right, not base hit single to right or single to left. No, these balls are being destroyed. And when you look at his batting stance, it's quick and easy, foot down and go. There's not a whole lot of movement. And I think that helps him, obviously, him being comfortable and healthy, but his moves are simple. And I don't want us to also forget that he's one of the fastest players in the league still. Sprint speed just behind Bobby Witt Jr. And you think about kind of him being able to get out of the box and steal a base hit. Look at this play. Ball hit to Jose Ramirez. He's a two-hopper, gets to him quick and easily down the line. So when we think about impact, and me and you talk a lot about impact in the game in different ways, LG, like his legs are different. I picked out 3 of the highest sprint speed plays that we've seen this year, and Byron Buxton's in all of them. And then defensively, I think seeing him play center field every day has brought new life to him as well. This is something we saw going back to 2023. It was all DH pretty much, right? And now it's this idea of we're seeing him in the field making these plays. He needs to show off that athleticism. And it's been the bright part of the Twins. We talk a lot about the health of Royce Lewis, Carlos Correa. It's good to see Byron Buxton healthy, doing the great things that we're so used to seeing him do. Don't let us forget about what makes Byron Buxton great. And he's been showing it early on this season. A lot of long balls and a lot of great impactful plays.
I love what you pointed out. It's just so simple. Just take advantage of those mistakes. But it's something that we don't usually think about, especially as the Lay fan. I love watching him in center field. You're right. It's kind of like reignited probably his passion, his love for the game, because he's so involved. But this is the low-hanging fruit. Of course, the question that everyone asks about the Twins, especially going into each and every season, can those big 3 remain healthy? But let's spin it forward. Let's make it a little bit more interesting, X. Out of Buxton, Correa, and, of course, Lewis, which of those 3 is most important to the success of this Twins team, especially in a very, very competitive AL Central?
Man, something tells me it's Carlos Correa, LG. And I think the reason why is because he's got the experience of winning previously, right, with the Astros. And I think that needs to be brought to the field on a day-to-day basis. You look at what the Twins have done so far this season, and it's been a lot of underperformance. When he's at his best, both defensively and offensively, he changes the face of the team. All those guys do, but I look at Carlos Correa has something that the other guys don't have. It's the intangibles of having been there and done that before. They need that on the field every day to me. What about you?
I mean, I want to argue with you, and there's obviously an argument to be made for Lewis. It's so great. He's so electric when he's on the field. You made a perfect case for Byron Buxton, especially with his wheels out there in center field. But let's not sleep on the fact that Correa also at short, like that's a very important defensive position. And yeah, it's one thing to have him in the dugout, in the clubhouse when healthy, acting as that leader, right? But it's another thing to see him out there leading by example. And to your point, like, I think some of these teams that haven't really gotten over that hump, that haven't really done it before, need someone who has in the past.
A lot of these sites picked them to be first, and a lot of that was coincidence of whether or not all 3 of them are healthy. So it's not far-fetched.
Yeah, that's what we always talk to Rocco about, year in and year out. Before the season begins, he's like, dude, your guess is as good as mine, but I'd love for all 3 of these guys to be healthy. Hey, we're going to take a quick break here on this edition of Off Base. Our game has seen its fair share of colorful characters over the years, but coming up, we'll talk about one of the most unique pregame routines in the game today. You're not going to want to miss it, or I don't know, will you? Off Base next. Welcome back to Off Base. Continue to disappoint O's fans everywhere. Meanwhile, in the National League, the Atlanta Braves at one point were the favorites to challenge the LA Dodgers and dethrone them. Well, they were off to a very slow start as well, lost each of their first 7 games to start the 2025 season, which leads us to cooked or let them cook. Let's start with those very Baltimore Orioles. The young team, the baby birds, kind of took over from Toronto, and we thought this team's ceiling was so high. If they just got the right pitching, they could take that next step. Of course, they were swept in the wild card last season. So, in your opinion, X, are the O's cooked, or should we let them cook?
Dang, you got to come to me first on the O's like that?
Tough question.
No. Yeah, I know. It's still early in the season, but I felt like even before the season started, from a pitching standpoint, it felt like they were cooked. They weren't able to go sign a high upper echelon ace to pair along with Grayson Rodriguez, and now Grayson Rodriguez is out, Zach Eflin out as well. You had to sign guys to kind of bring them in mid-season, and it just has not been what you've expected it to be. But also now that's fed into the offensive side of things. The offense, as a hitter, you feel more pressure to score runs because you're giving up more runs as a starting rotation. So for me, I feel like this team is kind of cooked at this point, and maybe it started before the season with all the pressure of them that they had on them and not having the pitching staff they needed.
I was about to say, I think they're cooked as well. No more Corbin Burns. It was something they need to go out and get an ace. They got Charlie Morton. We've seen how that experiment has played out so far in this 2025 season. You know, the arms aren't going, the pitching staff, but maybe they're hitting. Oh, no, they're actually not. Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, all struggling at the plate as well. So it's looking bleak. If you're looking at all the boxes and you're like, where are they finding support? They're not getting it.
Even Gunnar Henderson doesn't look like himself.
Yeah.
And he is a huge focus, just passion, energy, no smiles. Like, you expect to see that more so from him. And if you're not getting it from the premier player on your team, then it's going to be hard to really feed off of good energy. Anthony Santander, also, that loss is huge. Not only the homers, but in the clubhouse as well.
Yeah, really good point. Huge leader, and that one has to sting because he looks like he's starting to get going at the plate for Toronto. Moving on to the Atlanta Braves. Listen, I had a take that didn't age well, but I said that the Braves had the best shot at dethroning the Dodgers going into the season, off to a slow start, but they're starting to slowly turn it around, and they have two huge players that will eventually be returning to the lineup in Ronald Acuna Jr. And of course, they have Spencer Strider, who made just one start after returning from elbow surgery. So he did go back on the IL, but once he's back, I think he's going to be a huge linchpin for these guys. So in my opinion, I'm going to say, hey, let them cook. The Braves are just fine, especially when you look at their win percentage from 2020 through 2024. What say you, Xavier Scruggs?
Yeah, I was just going to say that graphic right there says it all. The history is all I need to know. They will be just fine. You look at them just behind the Dodgers in that win percentage for almost 5 seasons. So think about when Ronald Acuna comes back into the fold. I think that's a huge piece. When you're missing an MVP caliber player and knowing that he can come back and still perform at a high level, I think they'll be okay. Spencer Strider will be just fine as well. Chris Sale has gotten much better. Austin Riley already looks like an all-star. I think other guys will start to fold in, playing a little bit better. This offense will show up in a major way here soon.
Again, tough division. We know the wild card is going to be really competitive in the National League, but let them cook until they prove me wrong. Let's go, Atlanta Braves. Speaking of the NL East, this guy right here, first of all, I love the Philly City Connects. That's a controversial opinion, but Jesus Luzardo has been outstanding. A great offseason trade for the Philadelphia Phillies. You can see him striking out the side against the D-backs a few starts back. Todd Zalecki, who is amazing at covering the Phillies, ended up doing this great story on the fact that he is very superstitious, a numbers guy ever since he was younger. 4s and 8s had been good luck. So 8 had always been a lucky number for him. In his first big league camp with the A's, they gave him number 44. And they never asked him about it. They just gave it to him. And he was like, yeah, I'll never leave it. I feel like I see 44 a lot everywhere. It's his number. He likes it. So for Cook, let him cook. How do we feel about the superstition? He begins 2 hours and 20 minutes before every game because 2 + 2 = 4. He's a 44 guy, 4s and 8s. Makes his first throw at 6:20. Reason 6 + 2 is 8. And then the rec specs, because I was wondering about this, X. You may have as well. He has perfect vision. He just wears them because he wore them as a kid because he couldn't see signs from the catcher and it worked. So he was like, if it ain't broke. Okay, so how do you feel? Like, are these superstitions too much or just enough?
That is way too much right there. Like, I would feel like I would need to write all of these superstitions down just for me to have success going into the game. But obviously he's doing something right. Like, since that trade, he's done a nice job. I'm not going to knock it, but that is way too much stuff, LG. Like, all these numbers, I don't even like math like that. But I got to remember all these numbers just so I can be locked in for the game. Oh, hell no. Hell no.
And he is pitching. I believe he's set to pitch on Friday the 13th. But 1 + 3 equals 4. There's always a way to justify it and prove your argument. So I don't know.
I feel like you would be this type of pitcher. I feel like you would be this type of pitcher.
100%. They're like, oh, do you like have any vision issues? I'm like, no, these are just cute, and I'm gonna bedazzle them because that's how I would do my rec specs. Did you have any superstitions?
I did. I just tried to do the same thing when I had success. Like if I knew I had a few days in a row where I was having success, okay, I'm gonna put on the same sliders. I'm gonna put them on the same way, put my pants on the same way. I'm gonna rock the same cleats, rock the same batting gloves, even if they broke and have holes in the middle. Use the same bat, even if it has a little chip in it, whatever it may be. But I've seen some teammates with some crazy ones. Like guys will use the same shower, and whoever they showered next to the day before they had success, hey, you showering with me, right?
Sure,
I'm not going to name any names, but they grab dudes already showered. Hey, come back here and shower again because you were showering with me yesterday and I hit 2 home runs.
Hey, if it meant winning a game, I'm sure they were more than happy to oblige. Yeah, this is disgusting, but we'd play those long tournaments over the course of a weekend, like during the hot summer days. And if we were winning, I wouldn't wash my socks. You could break them in half. It was kind of gross.
That's nasty.
And on that note, X, that does it for this edition of Off Base. Check us out on MLB Network Sundays at 11 a.m., MLB.tv, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. Enjoy Minnesota. Hey, we'll see you next week. Bye.